It is baseball season, people. I love baseball, and I love the Yankees, and I love cake. So in honor of last weekend's opening day, I'm making a Yankee cake with fondant and with pinstripes. It's a real dinger, a homer, a four-bagger, a moonshot. It's pretty good. Now here is your recipe for World Series success. A batch of white cake batter, some 6-inch cake pans. I'm using 3, but if you only have 1, that's fine too. Parchment paper to put in the bottom of those cake pans. White fondant, blue fondant, white buttercream frosting, a fondant roller, a fondant smoother and trimmer. If you don't have the fondant trimmer, you can use a sharp knife. And a Yankee logo cutout. Start by getting your cake batter together. Hey, batter, 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 batter. Once your cake batter appears, grease your cake pans and then line the bottom with parchment paper. The parchment paper helps the cake just slip right out. Fill your cake pans up about halfway and then bake them in the oven at 350 for about 25 minutes. And once they're done baking, you need to let them cool all the way through before you try to take them out of the pan, like super cool, like me. Now once they are out of the pan, we're gonna stack them up, like the Yankees lineup. Stacked. If you need to level off your cakes, now's the time to do it. I'm gonna stack mine on a cake board because, I mean, that's what it's for. But if you don't have one, you can just use a plate. Now we're gonna put a little frosting right on the base of the cake board so that the cake will stick to it. Then you're gonna frost each layer until everything's stacked on top of each other. Now to frost the rest of the cake, I'm using a turntable because it's just like wicked easier that way. It's also easier without a hat on. Do I have hat hair? Now as you frost the sides, don't worry if you get frosting on the base of the cake because we can wipe it away later. The base, you know, like first base, second base, third base, cake base. Now it doesn't have to be super thick, but just make sure that all of the cake is covered so that the fondant has something to stick to. Now we've set the cake aside and we're gonna roll out our white fondant. Whatever surface you're using, make sure it's either greased or has powdered sugar to make sure that it doesn't stick. You just wanna knead the dough out. Until it's pliable. When we roll it out, we want it to be thin, but we don't want it to be too thin. Because if it's too thin, it'll crack under pressure, just like the Red Sox. Now, what's the difference between the Red Sox and a flower? Flowers don't stink. Sorry, no more Red Sox jokes. Except that your home run scorer's name is Big Poppy. Sounds like Big Poopy. Nobody wants to see Poopy run. That sounds like the stomach bug, if you ask me. Once your fondant's rolled out, then you're gonna place it over the center of your cake. Just let it drape over, like so. And then take your fondant smoother and just smooth out the top to get rid of any air bubbles. And then work your way down the cake until everything is smooth. We're gonna use our trimmer to trim off the extra. Now we're gonna set that aside and roll out some blue fondant. Just gonna do the same thing that you did with the white. Once you got a good thickness, you're gonna take your Yankee symbol and trace it with a toothpick. And cut it out with something sharp. But be careful. Now this is gonna go on top of the cake. But before I put that on, I'm gonna add some laces to the top of the cake and make it look like a baseball. This is totally optional. You can do a different symbol if you want to, like the Cubs or the Rays, just not the Red Sox. Smelly socks and food is just unsanitary. And with the fondant you have left, we're gonna make pinstripes. These are going on the side, so make them long enough to go from top to bottom because you can always cut more off later. Take a little bit of shortening, rub it on the back of the pinstripe, and then stick it to the cake. I want it to be pretty much right at the top where it starts to bend from the top to the side. And again, we're gonna cut this little tail off later. So just keep sticking your pinstripes on until the whole cake is done. Now let's trim off all those little tails, huh? We don't need them. And that's it. Buy me some peanuts and fondant cakes. Thanks for watching, you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you at Yankee Stadium. Oh, and before I forget, in honor of all my students discovering Nicki Bakes, I made you guys a railroader cake. Now don't complain when we ask you to jog for 3 minutes, and don't ruin your baseball season by breaking your wrist on the basketball hoop. See you guys next time.